All right. Hello again. If you don't know me, my name is Mark Smith. I'm a minister at the Clewiston Church of Christ in Clewiston, Florida. I've only done a couple of these videos. Usually here on YouTube it's a sermon, but I'm going to try and do a few more of these for a short lesson type thing. But if you like what you see here, please subscribe to my channel. By the way, I don't make any money off of it. It's not monetized at all. But you could always subscribe to this channel to hear different lessons and sermons. Or you can also listen to me on my podcast, which is anchor.fm/One Faith in Christ. And I also have a blog as well at onefaithinchrist.blogspot.com. Now, what I want to talk a few minutes about today is the year so far. And I think we can all agree none of us have seen anything like what we've seen so far this year. And we're only half done, just barely half done. And I know a lot of people are filled with anxiety because we just don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So we just have to keep everything in perspective and try not to panic, try to stay calm. But it has been a crazy year. Well, from January 1st to the 31st, actually everything was normal. But after January, it just seemed to all go downhill. In February, of course, the pandemic of the COVID-19 hit. We were under isolation, quarantine. The country shut down. Millions of people have lost their jobs. And then just as the country began, it looked like it was making a comeback and turning around, the states were reopening, businesses were coming back, the stock market started to go up. Just as all that happened, then of course we have the protests which turned into the riots, stemming from a police officer in Minneapolis or 4 police officers who of course killed a man while they were trying to apprehend him. And then after the riots in many cities were not totally destroyed, but many buildings were burned down. There was massive looting. All of this, every major city in the country, this happened in. But after that, well, it's not surprising that the COVID virus came back with a vengeance. Here we are today. It is June 30th, and the COVID came back. And now they're saying, well, we reopened too early. Well, yes, that's true. And the other major thing, I think anyway, it's not a coincidence that it's been 3 weeks or so, something like that, since the riots, and we're seeing this major spike in COVID. And now states are shutting back down again. More people are going to end up being laid off. And then this, of course, causes massive anxiety. On top of all that, we so far have roughly 125,000 people have died from COVID, and that's to date. This is still going on. And the year's only half over. So what do we do? With all of this, many people are asking, where is God? Why is He letting this happen? Well, the thing is, God is still here. And truthfully, we're doing most of this, if not all of this, to ourselves. Of course, God is not sending punishment down on the wicked, although some people are trying to teach that. That's simply not true. So God is not sending this down as punishment. It is not Satan running rampant around the earth and doing all these things either. We'll do a lesson on that some other time on acts of Satan right now. So the question is, though, what can we do about it? Why does it seem like God isn't here? Maybe some people believe that. The truth is, we have to ask ourselves, how can we please God? How can we please Him to truly find peace? Because after all, everyone who is out there protesting and doing these things, they're calling for justice. And absolutely, justice needs to be served. And a lot of what I'm going to say here in the next few minutes, I want to make clear. I am not speaking of the peaceful protesters who are looking for change. That's not what I'm speaking of at all. I believe there does need to be change in certain policing policies, and this comes from the son of a police officer. So there does need to be change. Those people's voices need to be heard. But what we're seeing now, of course, the rioting, the looting, the burning of cities. Now they're attacking every statue and monument you can think of, not just Confederate generals, but they're attacking George Washington statue, Abraham Lincoln statue. Someone needs to tell them that it was Abraham Lincoln that freed the slaves. So I don't understand that. And by the way, we're seeing also it's not all blacks. A lot of people. I was on Facebook the other day, and someone had said something about all the blacks doing this. This is not just blacks doing this, and not all blacks do it, and not all whites do it, but it's a mix of everyone that's coming together and doing these things. So how do we please God? How do we find the peace? Because after all, that's what everybody wants, right? They're screaming no justice, no peace, so they want peace. Well, maybe we can find it. Maybe we can find it in the Bible. So if they really want peace, they should read, I'll get that word out, they should read Christ's words in his Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5. And this might be, if everyone out there who is doing these, the vandalism and the rioting and murder, by the way, since these things have started, the riots and things, I think this is a low number, but the number I've heard was 113 people have been killed out in the streets due to this rioting. 113 people. How is that getting your message across? So we need to step back and listen to Christ. Listen to what he says in Matthew chapter 5. Of course, Matthew chapter 5 is the chapter with the Beatitudes, and that's what we're going to look at here for a few minutes. And I just want you to seriously think about each of these Beatitudes, and if those people really are doing right, if they're justified by the things that they do. So starting off, Matthew chapter 5, verses 3 through 4. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. There were many people who were mourning over this last month and a half, and they were poor in spirit, and they should be comforted. And those that are poor in spirit, many of those were the peaceful protesters. They wanted to change. They want to feel secure. And you know what? They have every right to feel that way. And I know there are many black people in our communities around the country that are looked at differently because of their skin color. I don't care that the year's 2020. This is still going on, and it should stop. Look at each person as an individual. God doesn't look at our skin color. We know that. God looks at our soul. What's the color of our soul? Is it white or is it black? Not skin color. Do we have a black heart is what I'm trying to say. And so we need to keep that in mind. Now in verse 5, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Well, with what we have seen, are those people meek? Again, I'm talking of the rioters and the vandals and things. I'm not talking about the peaceful protesters. I just want to make that clear. But are those people meek? Is what they do justified? Are they really searching for the heart of God? In my opinion, I don't see it. If you see it differently, you can always leave me a message here and tell me why you see it differently. But doing those things, they're not searching for God. In verse 6, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Are they really thirsting for righteousness? They're wanting justice. And maybe some of them want to be righteous, but by attacking police stations, burning down buildings, burning down police stations. In Nashville, they attacked Music Row and burnt down the Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville restaurant and attacked a Western wear shop. We're searching for righteousness and all that. And of course, shooting and beating of police officers. And on the flip side, we have seen many police officers doing the same thing. Where's the righteousness in that? They're not searching for that. In verse 7, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Where's the mercy and the rioting, the looting, and the killing? I have seen videos, maybe we all have, maybe someone getting beaten or attacked by the thugs that ran around with the peaceful protesters. But then we would see some of the protesters surround that person who's being beaten and protect them, and in some cases pick them up and carried them out of the area. That's mercy. That's what this is all about, is showing mercy and not trying to attack someone. Now verse 8 says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." Are they really being pure in heart? Are they even looking for God? Do the pure in heart yell threats and destruct property, set fire to things? Are they really being pure in heart? Well, answer that for yourself. I don't have to give you that answer, I don't think. Answer it for yourself. See what conclusion you come to. And then we read in verse 9, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God." Blessed are the peacemakers. One thing that always, in this last month, the one thing that has really got my attention is groups of protesters who are silent and march to a building or a courthouse or city hall, whatever it might be, and they just stand there. They stand there holding their signs. They're not saying anything. That silence is much louder than people running around setting things on fire. That gets your point across pretty good. But they're peaceful. Many police officers who are out there were trying to be peaceful, trying to maintain the peace in those cities, and yet they were attacked. Rocks were thrown at them. We've had a number of police officers shot. And not all police officers were being good. We've seen the videos of officers driving through crowds, or I saw the one where they pushed a 76 or 77-year-old man down, and he hit his head, and he wasn't. I've seen the video. He wasn't doing anything. But there are peacemakers out there, and Jesus says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, because they shall obtain peace." And they'll be called the sons of God. If you really want to obtain peace, be a peacemaker. Don't go out there and destroy property. And then in verse 10, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And then I'll go ahead and read verses 11 and 12 as well. "Blessed are you when they revile and persecute you, and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you." Blessed are those that are persecuted in my name's sake. Are these rioters persecuting the church? I don't know that exact answer. I do know that certain ministers have been attacked in it's either Seattle or Portland in the American Northwest. There's a certain area where police and government has been kicked out. It's almost a commune type situation. They don't allow any police in. And there's of course already been at least one murder. There's been a number of rapes. Look, people, without the police, that is going to happen. It would be wonderful to think that the whole world could be Christian, and then we wouldn't even need a police force. We wouldn't need to be doing any of this. But that's not reality. But a minister in that area there in Seattle and Portland, he was attacked. He was beaten. And of course, they recorded it while they were doing it. But he was attacked, he was beaten, he was robbed. They took his speaker and amplifier because he was going to try and preach to them. They absolutely targeted him. Many number of churches have been burnt to the ground by these rioters. They've been destroyed. And Jesus says, "Blessed are those that persecute you," or "Blessed are you who's persecuted in my name's sake." We are going to be persecuted. We always have been. I've seen a lot of things online here lately that they are going after people, well, they call it people of the cloth, but religious leaders, churches. They are going to go after this, and they are persecuting these people because of that. And Jesus says, blessed are they that are persecuted. It would be wonderful to think that these people could read the Bible. Well, they can, but it would be wonderful to think that they would read the Bible and learn from Christ's words. You know, folks, God didn't leave us. We left Him. Those people out in the streets that are rioting and doing these things, they left Him a long time ago. We need to get back to God. This is what this is all about. Get back to Him. You know, the government is moving, in fact, right now to reform many things, such as the police, and taking down the Confederate statues. Whether or not you agree with it, this is what, you know, many people want. But the government is reforming these things. It's going to take them a while. It is government. But they're trying to reform it. So peace is obtainable. You have won what you had set out to do. So why are you still doing these things? Turn back to God. Listen to what God has to say. Listen to Him especially when He says in Psalms 46 and verse 10, be still and know that I am God. Pretty strong words. Listen to God, because He is speaking to us. It's just most people aren't willing to listen. Well, anyway, that's it today. A fairly short lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave me a comment. And I guess that's about it for today. So again, you can tune into my podcast, anchor.fm/One Faith in Christ, and my blog as well, which is onefaithinchrist.blogspot.com. Well, thank you again, and we'll see you soon.